Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the She Invest podcast. I'm your host, Allie Fugit, and my other host, Carrie Douglas. She hopefully will be joining us soon. She had something scheduled this morning, so we apologize for her tardiness, but she'll be along shortly. But we have a great episode today. We are so excited for the guest that we have today. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background on her. We have Cam Snyder today. And Cam is formerly a real estate broker and now real estate investor. And prior to real estate, she worked at a large hospitality company in New York City. Currently, she invests in all kinds of real estate. And recently, in the last 18 months, she has actually gone from 1 to 23 short-term rentals in 2 different markets. And that includes a boutique inn, which I'm so excited to see because she just went through some renovations and updates. So without further ado, here is Cam Snyder. Hi, Cam. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Allie. Good morning.
Good morning. We're so excited to have you today. Cam is a personal friend of mine and just the sweetest soul. And I've loved her journey. And we've gotten to really grow together because we are in the same mastermind and the same accountability group. So I love talking with Cam and we love spending time together. So So Cam, I'd love for you to tell everybody, how did you get started in real estate investing?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, congrats on the podcast. I'm so excited for you and Carrie. It's awesome. And I'm so excited to be here as one of the guests. So I got started in real estate. I mean, basically real estate has always just been a big part of my life. Growing up, my dad was in commercial real estate and my mom was in residential. So I grew up going to open houses with my mom. Back before there was like a lot of email marketing and online marketing, I remember stuffing letters with my little sister and sealing them and helping send them for my mom as she was finding new residential business. So it's always just kind of been in the fabric of my life. And with my parents, I really got to see as they would acquire residential homes and otherwise just how appreciation in those properties worked for them. And it just had always been something that I was really excited about. When I met my husband in New York City, we purchased our first new construction project in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. It was close to the water. We had no idea what we were doing, but we were excited. We liked the location, and we just got a regular residential loan on that. And that really started our foray into real estate. And it was kind of the best thing we could have ever done because without really knowing what we were doing, we, stumbled upon a market that grew and grew and grew. And within a couple years, that new construction condo doubled in value. And so it really, kind of became the jumping off point for the rest of our real estate investments. When I had my third little baby in Brooklyn, we realized we couldn't stay in like 900 square feet any longer. And we moved to the suburbs to Connecticut. But what we were able to do by pinching pennies and, just watching all of our costs, we held on to the condo in Brooklyn. And so we were able, that began as our first kind of investment property. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's so cool that, you had somebody in your family that you were able to kind of watch a real estate journey through, because a lot of us, we didn't have that. So, hey, Carrie,
Hi, I'm so
excited to have you coming with us. Sorry, we had to get started a little before. I knew you had something planned, but so anyway, so Cam was just telling us about her how she got started in real estate, and yeah. So anyway, Cam, I was just saying, like, that's so cool that you had that person, because a lot of us don't have that person to guide, like, to watch and see the journey that they go through and the different aspects that they take on their journey. So that's amazing.
Yeah. And so, Allie, to that point, that's like one of the things as I've made for kind of my life goal going forward is for my 3 little kids is to help them. I keep it on my goal list, but to help them when they first, move off and go to college or whatever, they decide to do when they leave the house, is to help them find and purchase their first investment property with like a low interest first time home buyers loan, and then also, kind of employ the house hacking method so that they can have someone else stay there, whether it be in a room or if they're lucky enough to get a multifamily, so that they're paying for their mortgage. And, they can start to see very early on, how that will compound in their life.
Yeah. I think that's huge, Cam. That's amazing, and what a goal, right? Especially like for those of us that have kids. I think that we're the same. That our kids are much younger than your kids are right now, but they to take them with us as we go and just like involve them as much as we can through this journey. Because one day, yes, like that's the ultimate goal, right? Is like show them the freedom that we've gained from it and the lifestyle we were able to provide them with because of it. So I love that. Yeah. You go ahead, Carrie.
Oh, no, that's okay. So go ahead, Allie. Go ahead with your next question.
Oh, yeah. And so what went into your decision to make STRs your niche?
So we used our first condo. We took a HELOC out on that condo and used that to start a flipping business. And I did that for a handful of years. And that really helped me because I learned every in and out of renovation. I developed a really good team in my market here in Connecticut. And, I was just able to see the value of taking a property that was a value add and really creating something much better from it, raising the price and then making a profit from it. I did that for a couple of years and then just started reading a lot more. It was about, I guess, the time of COVID. Yeah, because we've only been doing this about 2 years. So it was like the COVID time where I just was studying a lot more, in different asset classes, different strategies in real estate, and stumbled across some great material on short-term rentals. And I thought that it just seemed like a really good fit because I had the hospitality background and I thought I would enjoy it. So we kind of jumped into that, and we used the renovation background, and then we used the BRRRR method for our first 2 properties. So that's where we buy it, rehab, refi it, and repeat. But we did it with the STR model. And so what was neat about that is we were able to buy properties that were value add, single family, really renovate them. I had my whole construction team. We were able then to renovate everything. We were furnishing it. We did our refi and we were able to pull all the cash out. The second property, we pulled out probably 85 to 90% of the cash out. But for the very first property, it was all pulled out, so that now going forward, all of our returns are infinite. And then for the second one, because we've been able to pay off all of that, so that's an infinite one as well. So we were able to take the flipping background with the renovation and put that into the BRRRR method for STRs with the infinite return. So I love kind of that strategy.
That's amazing. Awesome.
Yeah. As you're able to find a property in a great market that you'll be able to rehab really well. And then with the right furnishings, it all works out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that we love the short-term rental niche. So what a great background though it was. And we came from similar from that flipping side. And so leading into that, Cam, so what are the different financing options that you've used along this journey? So, you came from that BRRRR method, from flipping. And then I know like the rest of us, like sometimes it's a struggle to find the right piece that fits for you. So what financing options have you used and what might be your personal favorite?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm really lucky because my business partner, my brother-in-law, Craig, he is a great high W-2 earner. So he's been able to get all the loans. My husband and I are both, my husband now has a combination W-2 and 1099, but I've been 1099 for years. And as probably everyone knows, it makes it a little harder on the loan side, getting your debt. So I've been really lucky because Craig has been able to get all of our loans for the recent projects that we've done. But I have in the last like 6 months, I have been able to utilize a DSCR loan for our new beach house. And that process was very smooth. And it's a great product for someone like me and for my husband, because we can't necessarily qualify for some of the other conventional products. The DSCR was a great fit. Obviously, the rates are a little bit higher now, but we were able to find, just this gorgeous property on the water where the numbers all still made sense. So for us, it still works, and we'll be able to, if the rates go down, which hopefully, we all hope they will at some point, we'll be able to refi out to a lower rate as well.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal for everybody right now too, right?
Yeah.
It's just crazy. So in doing that and talking about your partnership, so tell us about that partnership you have with your brother-in-law, and how is it structured, and what do you think the benefits are from having a partnership like that?
Yeah. Oh, I love my brother-in-law. We're actually starting like a content side to our business as well. So we work really well together. You always hear it's best to kind of test the waters slowly instead of jumping into something crazy with a partner before, you really get to see how everyone works and how you work together. And so he helped me on one of my flips a couple years ago, just a very small project. And we just worked great together. He liked the way I communicated with him. He liked that he didn't really have to get involved, and then he, gets the payout at the end. So I think it's really important for people before jumping into a full-fledged partnership, maybe to try out one deal together and see how that goes. And so that's kind of how we started, and we just realized like we fit really well together. And then going forward, the last two very large projects that we did, I'm also really blessed because his situation is he's a high W-2 finance earner in New York City. And he's just very strategic about utilizing tax laws. And the way that his business works, he pays so much in taxes each year. So he's designated my sister as a real estate professional. And then he does cost segs on all of the projects that he buys. And so with the combination of those two strategies, he's able to recoup a lot, like all of the W-2 tax that he's been paying. And so I benefit from that because I help operate all of the projects that he buys. And then the way that we work, he's been kind enough to give me equity share in all of our big projects. And then we split profit at the end of the day.
That's awesome. What a great strategy for you to build wealth, because, he obviously doesn't want to do the work of the management piece. And you're able to come and provide that value, just like a total win-win for the two of you. That is so great.
Yeah, totally. And I applaud both he and my sister, because for my sister being the real estate professional, I mean, she's kind of had to transform her working life to make it work, but they have really seen such an amazing benefit from doing it, that it's something that, I think a lot of people could benefit from if they kind of educate themselves on it a little more, if they're paying a lot in taxes for W-2 earners. So it's a really neat strategy, as long as, if it continues, that we're able to work it the way that it is now. And of course, cost segregation is amazing.
Yeah. If anybody hasn't heard of it, the book Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright is just incredible for diving into this topic if anyone wants to go really deep. So.
Oh yeah, that's a good one, Carrie. I think that there's like a huge, and I think we hinted it a little on another episode, but like talking about the depreciation you can get off the cost segregation and everything, that is huge, especially when you move into the multifamily space, or
Right.
even if you are purchasing a large investment property that you're going to run as a short-term rental, or even if you are going to be doing like a midterm rental or whatever, you can still pay and have that cost segregation done and have huge tax depreciation off of that property. So those are big things, a good little nuggets there, Cam. And I love the real estate professional thing too. Like, I think that like that's like something that we need to capitalize on ourselves, whether like me or my spouse, in order to get some extra benefits moving forward. So hopefully that helps somebody else out there.
Yeah. So it's a perfect segue actually into our next question. You recently used a 1031 exchange, right, Cam? And I just want to ask you about that process and what you feel the pros and cons were and how that went for you.
Yeah. Okay. So that's like, I think my favorite strategy. We've been doing 1031s now for, I think 4 years. So we've been through it a lot, and, not everyone feels exactly the same. For us, it just is, I think, what we're going to do for the rest of our lives. And basically it's just, as you're selling a property, you're trying to get away from capital gains by quickly purchasing a replacement property. And you just want to make sure that the replacement value is equal to greater than what you're selling. But basically, if you're able to go into that for a like exchange, you're able to avoid the capital gains. And so for us, we took the equity that we had built up from our first condo, and we were able to put that into 3 syndications, and just get much more cash flow based on the equity. And then one of those syndications recently just sold, and we put the proceeds from that into our beach house. And so for us, it just has been, a really winning strategy. And we think that we'll probably do this for the rest of our lives. With, people call it the shop till you drop sort of strategy. So that in theory, if we do it correctly, we'll never pay capital gains during our lives for any of our real estate, and always buying bigger and better properties with more cash flow.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we love it. But there's people have to really do their homework on it. You have to have a third party involved, the qualified intermediary. It's very simple, but you just can't miss any of the steps. And then of course there's all kinds of time frames for identifying properties and for the transaction to take place. So I think sometimes for people that aren't really sure about it, it's the biggest thing is you want to make sure that based on the time frame, you're not purchasing a bad deal. But if you're able, if you really know real estate, you know where you're looking, you understand the market, you're able to find something that works, it makes sense. You just don't want to make sure that you're crunched by the time perspective, that you're purchasing something that isn't going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cam, can you tell us about because again, you've got a lot going on. So can you tell us about your diversified portfolio and what that looks like?
Yeah. So we have now, we have a total of 23 short-term rentals. So that's the bulk of our portfolio. That's comprised of a handful in a beach market in Connecticut, near where I reside, and then a new market for us in North Carolina, Blowing Rock and Boone. We have a cabin portfolio of 13 cabins in Boone, and then a new boutique inn that it's small, 4 bedrooms, and then a cottage that we've renovated, and that's in Blowing Rock. So the bulk of our holdings are in short-term rental. Then we still have a couple syndications that my husband and I are, getting cash flow each month from. And then we just purchased a beach house that's going to be for family use, and we're doing a hybrid. We're going to do midterm rental during the slow season, and then we're going to do short-term rental during the summer, where it makes exponentially more money.
Awesome.
That is awesome.
I love your wealth building strategy overall. But I want to ask you, how often do you track and look at your personal financial statement, and what metrics are you tracking to know that you're being successful? What are your goals in wealth building?
Yeah, Carrie, that's such a good question. And I have to admit, we've been on such a tear the last 2 years, just buying these businesses and trying to streamline them and get them operating, that it has not been as great of a focus for me as it should be. But it's been one of my goals for 2023 and 2024 is to get a better handle on the forecasting of our current holdings. Because right now it's just been get them full, get them making money. And I don't have the forecasting down yet. So that's going to be something I focus on. As far as our personal stuff, we've always had a financial advisor. We have a lot of that. And so he helps us just kind of watch over our portfolio. That's brokerage accounts and like 401ks and that kind of thing. So he helps on that side, but definitely for this year, I'm going to focus more on, forecasting and understanding like the seasonality and, where there's room for improvement in our portfolio for sure.
Yeah. And so when you start that tracking, like what are you going to be looking for? Are you looking for a certain net worth? Are you looking for a certain amount of cash flow every month? Like what are the most important metrics for you?
Yeah, another really good question. So for us, it's so interesting because it's just come on so quickly, especially like the North Carolina market. We haven't even, our cabins opened a couple of months ago, which we're learning the seasonality, So we're able to look at there's so many great tools available. So we're able to look a lot at things like price labs. I get a lot of great information from the county. I'm on all the chambers, and they're able to provide me historical data on the market, which has been very helpful. So I've been able to look, like our inn, we just did a renovation, and we were able to look at the historical data for Blowing Rock and see where the 2 slowest months were. So we decided to operate as is when we took over, and then use the 2 slowest months to do the renovation. So right now I'm just looking at all the historical data. I'm looking a lot at price labs and some historical data from our existing in PMS to help try to understand what we should be making each month. And then we are adding all sorts of new marketing. So we know that our baseline is what the old owner was making for the properties, especially the boutique inn. And now we're just trying to each month get it higher and higher based on her historical data.
Yeah.
And then we're just trying to really dive into the local market and see what nightly rates look like for the competitors that we think are closest for us and those that, we want to strive to get to. So that's kind of the data that we're looking at, but we're still learning because we haven't had full 4 seasons in any of the North Carolina properties yet.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. And Cam, I love that, because I'd love to talk about your project that you had for 13 cabins. And so for those people that don't know, or if you've gotten one property, it's a lot to take on for one, right? And Cam took on 13 at one time. So can you just talk a little bit about that strategy that you did? Because no matter what you're doing, whether it's long-term, if that's the way you're going, or short-term or multifamily, whatever, taking on that many at one time is a lot. So what was your strategy around that?
That was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. And it was so many learning experiences. I would have done things probably a little bit differently, but you don't know what you don't know. It was like a new market. We hadn't built out our team of helpers and operational staff. So I was doing a lot by myself. I think it was probably a total of 3 weeks that I was down there getting them ready. We used Host GPO. I could talk an hour about Host GPO. We've had some great experiences with some of the suppliers, and for the supplier that we used for the cabins, we had a lot of operational issues with them, and it's a shame because their furniture is by far the best that we've ever seen. It just, we just had some operational problems, but I think it was a unique project for them to work on as well, so they learned a lot too. But you don't know what you don't know. And we just renovated the inn, and we used Host GPO again with a different supplier. It was seamless. So, if I would do it again, I would have developed more of an operational staff on site to help early on in the project. We kind of the second to third week on, we were able to get more help, but in the beginning it was a lot.
Wow. Yeah. And when you started, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you guys did you did a portion, so you did so many at first, and then you started the next section. Is that right? Am I wrong?
I think that would have been a smarter plan. Actually, we just we did it all. We had one cabin. We're still finishing the 13th cabin because we had a tenant that we allowed to stay on longer, but we did it all. We did all 12. And I I don't even know why. I think we should have done it more. Your plan, Allie. I think that would have been a smarter move. But I was like, let's just keep them all going. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So I think that might have been smarter. But and we also ran into like there's no internet. So that was, as you buy a property, I will tell everyone to check the internet first.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, well, that was a long discussion between you and I because we're both in a mountainous area now, and that is a huge issue. So if you're buying in the mountains, definitely check it first. But I think that like a lot of us can, when you're going through this and like when you're on this real estate journey for wealth building and you see an opportunity come up, it's like 13 cabins or like Carrie and I, this hotel, right? You're like, oh, I have one, I've done it for one, or oh, I'm like already managing this small portfolio. This is nothing, right? Like we can do this. And then you jump in and you're like, oh, this is 13 at one time. I know how to handle one, but it's still a lot. And it's fun and it's challenging in a good way and sometimes a very stressful way, even though I don't like to use that word in my vocabulary. It's a very blessed opportunity position that you're put in. But just like a lot of us, like when we're so strong on this journey, we know where we want to go. We're very goal oriented. And like you said, because we've been in the exact same space and place that you're in, right? The last 2 years, we've just been head down, nose to the grindstone, going, and you just see these opportunities come up and you're just like, yeah, let's do it. Like, we're just going to figure it out and go for it. And while it is really fun and does help towards our wealth building strategy, ultimately, I think sometimes we're a little over ourselves, which is great because I think that we should have very high expectations of ourselves, but it's a lot to take on. So I loved watching you on that.
Yeah, totally. And I wouldn't change it. I feel exactly like you guys. And I feel like we tackle things in the same manner. And one of my favorite people in the world is Brendan Burchard. And he always just says, you have to believe in your ability to figure things out. And that's like how I just try to lead my life. Like we're all intelligent, hardworking people. Like we're going to come up with something. It might not be smooth. There might be a couple tears, but we'll figure it out. You know, it's better just to get the opportunity and figure it out from there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I guess, that's kind of a segue into our next question, just asking, what would you have done differently knowing what you know today? And not specifically about your cabin project, but just in general on your entire journey, anything that you would do differently?
Yeah, 100%. I would have hired some help earlier. We got our first VA, but only a couple months ago. I'm like, what have I been thinking? Like, why didn't I do this? You're just trying to like get out of the red, make some profit, but I wish we had done it earlier. And I think we already need another one. And I feel like I should have started that earlier, but just the virtual assistant, I feel really lucky. We've gotten, I think, someone real special. And I mean, if nothing else, it's just taking so much off of your plate. And also it's someone that, is building the company with you. So it can feel very lonely as you're building these things. And just to have someone else that is there, like helping out in the background with everything. They can cry at the same things that are terrible each day with different aspects of whatever. And, I would have done that much earlier.
That's really great. Thank you for sharing that, because I think I needed to hear that.
Yes, I think you need to get someone ASAP. Totally.
Yeah. Well, I think that because a lot of people, and I'll just comment shortly on this, but I talk with a lot of students through the coaching program. And I think the problem is like you and I, Cam, we're both in the same position. Like we waited way too long before we jumped in and got someone. The problem is we don't study our time to know where it's going and to visually show us that we need that help. We just keep mustering through it. But I think, again, that's our nature and the way that we are as individuals, especially in this particular field, that we're just going to keep going and we're just going to figure it out. But I think that if we had taken our nose back a little bit from the grindstone and taken the opportunity to like actually study our time, we probably would have done a lot better. But how freeing it is to be knowledgeable of the position that we're in and have the opportunity to get someone, because it does take a lot off that we're able to focus our efforts on continuing that wealth building strategy, because now we're actually able to get back in that game.
Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah. We have one more question, Cam, because we want to be respectful of your time, and it's been so great having you, and I just love you. I love your story. And just for those of you listening in and now or later, I love Cam's story, I think, because we relate so closely, because when I met Cam, you had what, 3 or 4 properties, Cam?
Yeah, I had 3. I think I had 2, and I was in the middle of purchasing like a duplex. So I
think
know,
that's
Allie,
right.
it's been a crazy. Right.
Yeah. And so to watch her ride, and I just feel like we have, as both as individuals and as team members, that we've added so much value to each other. And just thank you, Cam, for being a sounding board for everything and on this journey. Before we ask you our last question, do you have anything you'd like to share with the group? I know that we talked about, any advice you'd like to share with them, and then also how can they find you on socials?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know, advice, just keep going. There'll be days that are really challenging, and then there'll be days that are amazing. So just keep going. It's hard. We all have really busy lives with a lot of other things going on, but if you're listening to podcasts like this, you're already, illustrating that you are interested in making a change and going places with real estate and with different avenues of your life. And for that, I applaud you, because it's not everyone. And just keep going. Just keep pushing.
That's great. And how can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so we're Craig and I, my business partner, brother-in-law, we're starting a new channel on Instagram and other places. That's going to be Cam and Craig. That's in the works right now. And then in the meantime, you can always find me at our properties, Red Feather Cabins, on Instagram and on Facebook, and the Victorian in Blowing Rock on Instagram and Facebook.
Wow. All right. Well, Carrie, you want to ask her the last question?
Sure. Our last question is, what is the most exciting thing you have done on your investing journey?
I mean, I think the cabins, just because I never thought I could do something like that, and it was much harder than I thought. So it was so hard. It was so, now that it's operating, I'm so proud. And we went and we stayed in one with my sister, and they're coming from New York, and go to nice hotels. So it was interesting to get her take on it when it was all done, and she was like, "This is gorgeous." Like, to see all the operations come together, the cleaning team doing an amazing job, the handymen fixing things in these old cabins so that they really are just gleaming. It was a very proud moment.
Awesome.
That's amazing. Well, thank you, Cam. We appreciate you coming on today. We look forward to having you on later on to catch up and see how everything's changed, later on.
So, yes. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you, ladies. I'm so proud of you.
We're so proud of you.
Cam. We're proud of you. Yes. And we love you. And thank you guys for listening. And we'll see you soon on the next episode of the She Invests podcast.